Yes, so we are live. So good evening, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of Women Everyday series. This is Pooja Bangad, your host for today, and on behalf of Shework, I would like to welcome you all. Today's episode is indeed very special, as we started the series on 8th of March, that is an occasion of International Women's Day, and I'm proud that we are continuing this in International Pride Month. Coming back to the Pride Month, the definition of inclusivity is not mere just for saying, but it is accepting every aspect of society. So today we are celebrating diversity, inclusivity, and equity. Now I am opening this conversation with all our esteemed panels who are well-known top leaders in industry. I remember a famous quote of Gurudev Ravindranath Tagore, which says, "Everything comes to us that belongs to us if we create a capacity to receive it." That is exactly what all these leaders have done to create their organizations which are ready to onboard any type of a talent by making a workplace more inclusive. So I personally feel talent is the only thing which comes without any dimensions. Over next 1 hour, our today's panel will be sharing insightful thoughts and their perspective to enhance your learning experiences. So, taking it ahead, I would like to introduce all our stalwarts of these industries one by one, starting with Mr. Varun Gautam, Head of Talent Management and Talent Acquisition at Persistent Systems, with over 2 decades of exceptional experience in talent management and acquisition. Mr. Gautam has led the global talent supply chain for consumer and commercial industries in New Jersey, USA. He has also overseen large scale recruitment sourcing, global sourcing planning, and talent branding initiatives with a focus on global P&L. Additionally, he has successfully managed talent supply for about $2 billion business unit and developed $100 million staff augmentation business in US and Europe. We are definitely excited to hear you. A warm welcome to you, Varun.
Thank you, Pooja. Really excited to be here. Sincerely appreciate the opportunity. Looking forward to this discussion.
Yes. So moving next, I would like to introduce Mr. Paul Jacob, Senior Director of Talent, HR Analytics at Happiest Mind Technologies. Mr. Jacob is seasoned HR professional with over 2 decades of experience spanning various domains within HR landscapes, including talent management, acquisition, learning, and development. Mr. Jacob is an engagement advocate who fosters genuine employee engagement through innovative and employee-led initiatives, championing employee well-being. His leadership extends to managing large teams, tackling complex consulting assignments. A warm welcome to you, Paul.
Thanks, Pooja. Thanks for inviting me. Lovely to be in presence of all these great leaders. Thank you.
Yes. So, third is our power lady for today, Miss Shailaja Iyer, Executive Vice President, Global CHRO and India Country Head at Incedo. Shailaja is distinguished HR leader with nearly 2 decades of experience across multiple industries. Her career includes leadership role at Gartner, McKinsey, Whirlpool. Her expertise span HR strategic roadmaps, leadership hiring, coaching, talent development, culture change initiatives, due diligence for mergers, and workforce planning, compliances, and frameworks. A warm welcome to you, Shailaja.
Thank you so much, Pooja, and it's my pleasure to be here with such eminent speakers.
Thank you so much. And last but not the least, our fourth panel, Mr. Manjeet Walia, Head of Talent Acquisition at Harbinger Group. With over 2 decades of experience, Mr. Walia has been a pivotal force in talent acquisition, management, and engagement across various domains and industries. His dedication to identifying and nurturing top talent, along with commitment to foster a positive, inclusive work culture, has significantly impacted Harbinger Group. A warm welcome to you, Manjeet.
Thank you, Pooja. Good day to you and look forward to a great session today. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. So, opening up for the discussion without wasting anybody's time, I would like to first fire a question to Varun. So, Varun, how would you define a talent acquisition strategy And what do you think, how it is different between regular recruitment?
So it's a tough one. It's been just 22 years doing that. So yeah. So see, talent acquisition strategy in the kind of business I am in is like the bloodline to business. We are in services. All services are delivered through people. So it is always a hotspot. Whether you like it or not, any season, all seasons, TA and TA operations is always in limelight. So TA strategy naturally comes to our business. It's not only limited to the TA leaders. Everyone in the system contributes to it because it directly impacts them. It's largely a comprehensive layout of how do you fulfill and service your customers. So when it comes to TA strategy, there are three words what are very very popular in the industry. What I also use, it is cheaper, faster, better. So any action, any initiative, what we plan, as long as it caters to cheaper, faster, better. And when we say cheaper, it's not like cheap. It's like whatever are the target budgets, cost, you respect them. Faster is because it is a supply chain. You need to respect timelines. You need to deliver people or deliver services to your customers in time. And better is everything to do with the quality and the output what you get, which is to do with customer service. So any framework of talent strategy, what I have seen in IT and IT services, and I think it's true for any and every industry, is these three simple, very very simple English words, which formulate it. That's what I would say.
Great, great, great. So, of course, like, you've been building, you said that this is the very important segment when it comes to growing an organization. And we could see a lot of your strategies, and Persistent is growing. We see the numbers because it's definitely a public listed company, and we are definitely proud of it. So, what about Manjeet? What do you think about it?
So, Pooja, for us people who've been kind of early 20s, 2000 when we started, the term talent acquisition was just getting evolved. It was more about recruitment at that point of time. A very reactive kind of a thing. So you would have a position and reactively you would just run around and try to fulfill it. I wouldn't say there were very many sources available at that point of time. More of headhunting days, and it used to be just fostering and nurturing. Find out where the talent is going to be all around. So, I mean, I still remember those days when, for identifying resources, we would just travel around everywhere. Since I was in Mumbai, we would be at the SEZ gate, the SEEPS gate at Andheri to try and find out if the talent was available there. So that's how it is. I mean, we all started from recruitment and talent. Today we are at talent acquisition. So it's kind of evolved, I would say, over the years.
Over the years, yes. I remember in some of the forums, I think Narayan Murthy, Anand Deshpande, sir, they have been mentioning that they went door to door to bring the person join their organization. So, of course, I mean, thinking of that, that was definitely a difficult journey when you guys started your recruitment as a career.
In fact, Pooja, we used to do something called gate crashing, which is not a very frequent term that we use these days. But we would actually go into organization appearing to be, to get interviewed and, give our name cards, and that's how we would attract
Thank God.
talent as well.
Great, great. I think that is something which we should start doing it, because right these days talents are coming up with different offers one after the other.
True.
Yes. So Paul, what do you think? How would you look at talent strategy?
So when I started my career almost 2 decades back, talent acquisition was that was the first job that I got, and that was the easiest job that I could find in that particular period of time, because that is where the requirement was, and that is where we were looking at people for. So what Manjeet, I completely echo with what Manjeet said, because of the reason that I started my entire career in insurance, and we have done all those practices that Manjeet has talked about. We have gone to tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, walked into competitor offices, given out cards, because that was the way acquisition was getting done at that particular period of time. But I think it's evolved over a period of time. I think with technology seeping in, and with a lot of focus being there in terms of how to identify talent, I think I think that things have emerged quite a bit. There has been a fairly decent movement of talent or inclusion of talent within the organizations. So yeah, it's kind of evolved. The only thing which hasn't evolved is the fact that candidates still behave the way they were behaving 20 years back. So that's how it is. So that's a view.
Yeah.
That's a viewpoint I have.
Right. Shailaja, what is your take on this?
So my take is slightly different, but it is also a mix of everybody's views, I would say. Um, so the way to kind of think about it is, kind of recruitment is the act of bringing the people on board, and that's the way I would interpret it. It's about whatever other techniques and practices and processes that you actually use to bring in the experienced hires or the kind of the new hires, freshers, in line with your overall need. The talent acquisition strategy overall is different because it's the blueprint to which we execute. And in a talent acquisition strategy, you're fundamentally going to the drawing board and saying, especially in organizations like mine, which are kind of fast growing startups in the tech services space, we are fundamentally getting up and saying that to be a niche player, whether it's engineering or data and AI, etc., what is the kind of organization we want to become when we grow up, and what is the kind of work we're going to be doing, and therefore what is the DNA that we need. So, at a very fundamental level, we initially spent a lot of time thinking through the kind of DNA that is going to work for our organization, both in terms of skills, capability, and value systems. And from there, started kind of defining, okay, the sources and the kind of people that we wanted to go after. This also kind of defined the kind of leaders that we wanted to bring in, where to Manjeet and Paul's point, we then actually targeted people specifically and called them out for a cup of coffee, and then individually started converting them because they're the kind of people who would, in line with the growth strategy of the organization, they would be the ones who would kind of almost bring it to fruition, to scale up the organization, to grow it, to build those offerings and capabilities. So the talent acquisition strategy is, it's kind of the big picture. It's the blueprint, and against which we then start staffing the firm. And that's how I differentiated between recruitment and strategy. And to Varun's point, it is a lifeline. It is a lifeline of any tech services firm. Your talent acquisition strategy and the kind of people that you bring in really defines how you're going to operate, not just in terms of execution and quality, but even your price points and your margins, and every part of it kind of gets impacted and influenced. And therefore this is not something that you kind of do by the side of your table. It has to be very thoughtfully done.
Very true, very true. Varun, you would like to add something?
No, absolutely. I think I well echo what Manjeet and Paul said. In 2000, there was no Naukri.com, for example. There were no LinkedIn.com. So headhunting was a way. I did not had a fortune of gate crashing, but we used to call at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. because guards in any company used to be the most vulnerable people. And then you try and call out and figure out that what are the 5 people in which department. So you'll say, hey, I want to talk to Pooja. Guard will say, hey,
Hmm.
which Pooja? You know, Pooja Walia, Pooja Bhagat. So then okay, there are two Poojas. So next day you call and talk to specific Pooja. So those were the ways, at least, I have been very hands-on in the initial part of my life. But absolutely, echo what Shailaja just summarized, that, it impacts everything in terms of your business, your top line, bottom line, and at least I would say now there is no business which is not technology led, and whenever it is technology, there are always people behind it. While we are talking Gen AI nowadays, that's the flavor of the day. So it does touch upon, and recruiting and entire talent acquisition piece is very, very critical, extremely critical. I firmly believe in that.
Right. And I think I endorse to what Paul said. Everything is changed. Technology has come up, uh, strategy has come up, but talent hasn't changed at all. So talent is the only thing in the world which is constant since then and since now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. So moving ahead, I would like to ask this question. Maybe let's start with Paul. What do you think? Does the employer branding plays a vital role when talent strategy is in place? Does the talent get attracted to the branding or the marketing efforts what company is taking today?
Oh, absolutely, it does. I don't have another way to deny that, to be honest with you, because of the reason that I also take care of that as a portfolio in my current job. So I think the perception of today, because it's so closely connected, is that because we are so closely connected, we also, the first thing that we do when we get an offer is to figure out what the company is all about, or what is it that the company did, or what is it that the company is all, the culture stands for. Because nobody wants to get into an organization where either the culture is not there, or the stability is not there, or any of those angles are not there. And those are, you have the glass doors of the world, you have the ambition boxes of the world, you have all of these sites which are available with so much of information that I can actually take a very calculative call in terms of whether I want to join the organization. And that is where the role of the employer branding or the employee branding team also comes into play, because of the reason that they are the ambassadors of the organization on the social media pages which we are talking about. Um, it is important for the organization to put the best foot forward when we talk about this on those particular pages. Otherwise, you would see that there is a wide dissonance between the offers that you make and the joiners that you get, because the ratio of that depends on a lot to do with these tractions which are there, and there are multiple sources that you need to manage. It is not a single source, so you have to have something very, very positive which is happening within the organization, and even better which is happening outside, and that's where that team comes into play. You don't have a branding strategy, you don't have people, and that talent acquisition definitely gets derived from that.
Absolutely right. I mean, we are definitely seeing everybody taking efforts. People are coming to all the medias. They are managing the different channels, and indeed, it's very difficult for any organization to keep monitoring, making sure things are going smooth. So, Manjeet, how would you like to take this? What efforts you have seen people in your organization taking up for employer branding, and how important it is for Harbinger?
Okay, Pooja, a lot has changed even in branding. If you see, I still remember those old days when you have to have a half-page ascent ad, which would feature majorly Infosys and the top five organizations, and that is how the branding evolved. Then, in today's scenario, I would see, it is more about internal branding. Every person in the organization is a brand ambassador, and that's how they portray outside as well. If you look at the LinkedIn profiles of the best of the people, the leaders around, you resonate them with their organizations, the way they branded their organization. So it helps in nurturing the talent acquisition and getting the talent acquisition. The external branding, I would majorly state that how the organization wants to portray it. I mean, whether it is through various medias that you would like to portray it, certain you get to see more on Insta, the Facebooks, organization portraying that. So it all depends, how internally and externally you want to portray your brand. And then the glass
Yeah.
doors are always there to kind of, uh, you know, actually favor you there.
I think and many coming up. I saw a lot of advertisers from fish bowls coming in, people putting it a lot of comments on it too. So Shailaja, what do you think for the tech startups? How important it is?
See, I think for tech startups, it's super super critical. I think the the fact is that branding is really important from a couple of perspectives. First is that everybody is super networked in this industry, and therefore they have like Paul said, myriad sources from which they will go and check out all kinds of facts, some true, some not true. And therefore, what is the first kind of objective of the branding exercise is to kind of put out there what you stand for and very clearly state that, and what is the experience the person will undergo if they come and join your organization. So it's a little bit about putting the word out as well as trying to differentiate signal from noise. So that's number one. Number two is, in terms of now, where do you brand? So why do you brand and where do you brand? Branding in terms of location has to be where your people are. So social media branding, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, etc., you have to be out there branding yourself and talking about what you do, because that's the place where the new generation is really most active. The other thing is, you also have forums like a TechGeek or a GitHub and many of those places where, again, whether you're doing anything or not, you definitely have to be present for people to, kind of, for to pique interest. So the source where you brand also has to be relevant for the pools that you're trying to attract. So why brand, where brand, and the other part of the why brand also is, let's put it the other way around. If you don't brand, what happens is, A, you fall short of the kind of talent that you want to attract. B is, even the people that you attract, you literally have to land up sending your best. You don't need recruiters, you need headhunters. Then so either you get, if you don't have a brand, you have to get ready to staff yourself with headhunters to convert people. The third part, if you don't have a brand, is you are paying premium for every person you're trying to convert, and their ability to stay in the pipeline also gets impacted. So they may take your offer, but you don't know till the time they walk in through the door whether they're going to join you. So branding is therefore super critical in attracting the right kind of talent, and also saying that they join you and they stay with you. And at the end of the day, it is about separating signal to noise and putting your word out. Amongst every conversation which is happening, you have to differentiate yourself and get your voice heard. So that's why I think branding is important.
Understood. And I think it is becoming more difficult when there are multiple platforms, and sometimes it is also creating a biases when it comes to portraying an organization, or maybe a talent, when it comes to talent, when they are demoing what they are up to, what they are doing. So of course, I mean, it is very, very, very difficult, I see. So
Yeah.
Varun, what is your take on this? How important you feel is branding?
Of course, I think Shailaja has summarized it very, very beautifully. But see, employer branding in today's, I don't think our audience need to know what is a brand. Employer
Yeah.
brand per se, or I would say, since we are on talent acquisition platform, I would say talent brand, which is a little small subset of the larger employer brand. So when it comes to talent brand, it's the simplest medium of demonstrating my employee value proposition or my candidate value proposition. How do I acquire what I want to acquire? So it is largely made up of three things. One is people. Purpose. Purpose is nothing but related to your culture. What as a as an ecosystem, what are the ethos on which you have built your company? And of course, performance. How do you consistently exercise that purpose in terms of demonstrating the values? And of course, all of this, you have to pick up a platform like Glassdoor or like anything else. I would say it goes both ways. It is internal as well as external. There is a lot of talent branding happens internally as well, while we want to largely touch upon the external part. All your employee referral, alumni, these are largely internally driven. If I don't have strong employees who have connect with my employees who may have left me, my alumni engine cannot work. If my employees do not believe in the culture, they don't believe that this is the right place to stay, my referral process will go for a toss. In fact, I had spent 17 and a half years with HCL, and had a very, very, I would say, great professional time working under Vineet Nair. And he's the author of a book called EFCS, Employee First, Customer Second. So when you talk of your employee brand or talent brand, it purely relates to the employee. how does an employee feel in the ecosystem, and how do they demonstrate value for themselves? Because once they add value for themselves, they will add value for your customer. Your customer delight is assured as long as your employee is happy, and employee is happy when your employer brand is secured, or your employee value proposition is not only defined in a good way but also exercised. So that way, talent brand or employer brand is a key element to demonstrate what values, what ethos you exercise in your company. It also, in a tactical way, is very, very critical element of our place where we started, right? Talent acquisition strategy, in terms of you demonstrating that, okay, there is a value in the work we do, there is a value in the culture, we differentiated culture, what we exercise, and we'll give you the experience. Also about the monetary part, how do you compensate employees, what kind of benefits you have, how do you leverage on policy infrastructure, simple things, right? How do you, like, we partner with Sheworks, how do you inculcate diversity? While in my mind diversity is not a big challenge, inclusion is a bigger challenge. But all of that stitched into your talent brand, and it's the best platform on which you drive around in the talent market to secure the desired talent. That's my simple stay and put on branding per se. And of course, you can't work in silos, so you need marketing there, you need employee there, you need recruiters there. Simple thing, the best example from my persistent life, I'm very, very proud of my team. In about 12 months, for example, LinkedIn as a platform, we grew from 350,000 followers to more than million followers. That only happened because of the HR and recruit teams what we had on the ground, who were able to spread across that message. And of course it was complemented by employees also. Otherwise, it's impossible to get to that kind of follower base in about 8 9 months. So small reflection of what talent brand can do.
Understood. I think conscious hiring is something which companies should adapt. What do you think about it? Or do you think companies are simply focusing on just onboarding?
So it depends, what kind of size and scale you're referring to. I would say in our definition, in our environment, in Persistent today, we do all of it. It depends on which domain, which customer, which region. Like for example, if I'm working outside India, Latin America, where Persistent is hardly known, it's
Hmm.
very difficult for us to go and talk about it. We get good reception because we are like an perceived like an international multinational company. But again, so that's where the focus and the strategy is very, very different, whether it is talent strategy, recruiting strategy, or branding strategy, versus India, where which is the heartbeat center for us, for example, and a lot of esteemed people on the call as well. It's very different. You have to customize it based on region, based on what you're looking at, skills you are looking at, timelines, and remember, cheaper, faster, better. Those
Right.
those three things always.
I mean, I think it's a lot to take up from each one of you. To summarize, I think people, purpose, ethos, policies, performance. Well said. Like all the platforms, this all are very important for any organization to show their branding, and that is what a good talent is going to get attracted to. So, moving ahead, I think, Shailaja, what do you think? How can talent acquisition strategies foster diversity and inclusion within an organization? And what steps should an organization take to create this inclusivity for the talents who are getting onboarded?
Okay. So, talent acquisition strategy is absolutely material in promoting diversity and inclusion, or bringing in diverse talent into the organization. And and the fact is, as a part of the talent acquisition strategy, most people think that diversity is just about, bringing in women, right? And what we realized over a period of time, when we were, growing in US, was the fact that diversity for us there meant non-Indian male, kind of talent. Because out there, every person we went, and including when we went to campuses, they basically said, "You're an Indian tech firm. It is, It is very Indian male, kind of talent, engineering talent. So, what's in it for me? So we had to literally change the verbiage in terms of how, forget the job descriptions, how the brochures and everything was written out there. And therefore, we started from there, and then even for experience hires across levels, we started changing the way we portrayed ourselves and the opportunities to candidates across. Now, similarly, when we were hiring in Mexico, it had to be totally different. So I would say that bringing in diverse talent in different geographies also has a different connotation in terms of the role that you want to play and what is the kind of talent that you want to bring into the organization. So that's number one, and the implication of that is, what do you highlight in each geography as a part of that strategy, the talent acquisition strategy. Then number two is, it doesn't stop there. You know, after the initial touch point, the process that people go, or the experience that candidates go through in the process, also defines their ability to stay in the pipeline or drop off the pipeline. And therefore, you have to educate everybody in terms of what you want. And as a firm, we kind of said we don't want to have a quota system, but we definitely want a diverse talent, which meant that all our problem solving cases, etc., had to be, neutral and had to be doable. We didn't want to kind of make it like the super data science type of problem solving exercise which nobody could crack. And therefore we had to change a lot of things, both in terms of exercises, in terms of tests, and kind of picking the panel that will be most compelling and who will also help convert. And then finally, from the offer to the joining, that time where you continue to engage the person, especially in India when they're going through the notice period, that also becomes critical. So, bringing in diversity is not about just identifying a person and issuing an offer. It is about almost kind of ensuring that across each touch point the experience is great, and which gives them the comfort that this organization has thoughtfully thought about, you know how we can bring them on board and make them comfortable. And finally, from an onboarding perspective, what we realized is, as we brought people on, we assigned buddies to help them become successful. Because when you have a fast paced tech firm, and most tech firms operate at a certain execution intensity, it can be overwhelming, especially if you want to bring in people who may have the domain depth and are coming from product companies or are coming from different types of organization and coming into a services firm. The pace kind of hits them. So how do you help them go through the initial 3 months without having a sticker shock, is really the part of getting people to come on board and settle in. So talent acquisition plays a super critical role, and from then onwards, the rest of the organization, the HR organization, the handoff has to be really well thought through so that nowhere is a baton falling. And that's the way I would talk about it. Yeah.
Well said. Well said. Yes, you were
No,
saying
no, go
something.
ahead. Go ahead. You were saying something.
No, I was saying well said, of course, and I mean we are happy that you are sharing some examples what you're doing, like the talent buddy, which I think is a very good one, and this is something which even we had utilized, and it really worked well. So
Yeah,
Manjeet,
and
what do you?
see, one is the talent buddy. You also need vendors who can help you find the right high quality talent and convert them. So there is, recruitment, kind of tools and resources, the buddy system within the vendors and the suppliers who can help you, source the right quality of talent. So it's a comprehensive exercise, and you have to be committed. You can't kind of just say, hey, I want to bring people on, and
Yeah,
then hope that the system takes care of itself. You have to kind of inculcate that wish list through every step of the process so that everybody is singing out of the same page, and knows what is expected out of them.
I mean, yes, of course, hand holding is something which is very, very, very important.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Manjeet, what do you think? Would you like to share some of the examples which you have also implemented, and made sure that the person feel more inclusive in the environment?
Okay, Pooja, so the first and foremost thing when you talk about talent acquisition strategy is, the strategy has to cover a certain percentage for DEI. Today it cannot be just left open, right? So you have to have a certain number there where you say that you're going to hire, let's say, 40-45% DEI across the organization. One. Second is, there has to be a diverse sourcing channels. Okay, you cannot depend majorly on, let's say, portals or, uh, I mean, one channel I can look upon, Pooja, is your organization, which is quite into diversified, and that's what we look at, right? Uh, yeah, I also would appreciate, and I kind of resonate with what most of the people here think about is the inclusive job descriptions. Today you cannot have job description talking about a certain stand, saying that you are only looking at a male or a female, or that kind of situation. And very important is, even people who are going to interview have to be diverse. So when you are in a situation where you have your inclusive job description, when you have your diverse interview panels, I think you've taken care of the most.
Absolutely, absolutely right. So, Paul, moving to the next, I would also like to hear what are you doing? What are the steps? I mean, any unique steps you have implemented?
Okay. Interestingly, diversity and inclusion is a very, very key component at Happiest Minds, and I think it's been something that we have been practicing. So, for a lot of organization, diversity is to do with gender. And I think we've slightly stepped beyond gender. We have our gender targets, which are there in terms of our hiring, in terms of how we basically carry out our actions in terms of equalizing our genders. But I think on the diversity and the inclusion spectrum, to be honest with you, it is not about getting the diversity, but it is about ensuring that the diversity is inclusive within the organization. That is important. And I think at Happiest Minds, I think we are taking steps, or rather, the DNI team has been taking steps along with the talent acquisition team to make this happen. One of the few practices that we have been following in the last couple of years is to have the hire and train model from the PWD folks that we have. We have tied up with a few PWD NGOs where we invest, and we being a technical services organization, we invest a couple of months in terms of hiring, or rather we invest in training them in terms of some certain specific skill sets, not with an intention of hiring all of them, but an intention of skilling them for the larger, what do you call it, with the larger population. And there is a very high amount of investment which these individuals do in terms of time and in terms of creating and co-creating these courses along with the with those particular institutions. We do get a couple of them out of those particular courses, and we do absorb them within the organizations. Over and above that, we are taking efforts in terms of the inclusivity part of it to sustain the people that we hire. The diversity hiring is not a challenge for us. What is the challenge is the inclusivity part of it, which we are addressing to the inclusive practices. We have general neutral washrooms. We are talking about ramps, which are there, which for a lot of organizations we talk about this in our forums. We have conversations about this in our forums. We basically educate people then. One realization which I've had is a lot of large organizations and mid-sized organizations use their DNI folks as poster boys and poster girls, and after their utility is over, they do discard them. There is a conscious effort at Happiest Minds that we do not bring our people with, though we have people with from the community, from the category, we do not talk about this openly with the general population. We don't use them as poster boys and poster girls. it is not about promoting that we have them, but it is also to do with the fact that it is important for them also to feel at the same level of any other organization employee is at, and them also being and given that same dignity of work. That's what is something which is crucial, and that's a differentiator that we are doing.
Absolutely right. I think even while talking to a lot of people, I mean, of course, happen to meet many people at the ground level, mid level. So we have been working with all the levels, and we have seen a lot of things happening, which you spoke about, and sometimes the leaders are not aware. But I'm sure, like, being the right leader, guiding the team, and making sure inclusivity. It should not be the difference, which you rightly said. If we say this is a 5% of quota which I have to fill in, then we are differentiating. It should be inclusive. It is diversity should be part of a team. It should not be something which we give an exclusivity. So
I
Varun, what do you
wanted
think?
to add one more point. It is about
Yes,
not
please.
about
Yes.
that. It is about the ethos that you create. It is about the environment that you create for inclusivity. That's important, which is what a lot of organizations tend to miss out. The general fundamentals.
Yes.
That's what gets missed out. Just wanted to add that.
No, absolutely fine. I mean, of course, this is an open discussions, and we are. I mean, there's a lot of things which we are learning and getting to know from you. So very happy for that. Varun, do you think while scaling up, also this makes difference for the talents when they are joining?
So even before I could answer anything, Pooja, what are your views on diversity? Because you represent Shiva, so there must have been some
Yes.
thought got into you creating your own brand as Shiva. So
Yes.
so would I think
So
audience would love
at
to hear
She,
the story behind it.
so I think at Shework, we are taking definitely conscious efforts to educating the companies first. We are trying to go talk to the people, create a place. So I'll tell you, when we initially started, it was just pre-COVID, and that was a time when I was pitching Shework, telling them, give exclusivity, you do women hiring from us, and then people used to say, boss, it's an evening shift, shift. I don't want anybody. Then or I would say, abhi to we are needing mid scale, abhi to hamara project is at the peak. What if she gets married? So I have come across such questions, and it was very difficult for us at Chiwork to convince any brand to come and register with us and hire women through us. So when we look at a different I mean, this is the story of India, okay? When we do this in say, in the other countries, the stories is different. People are already accepting the diversity. They are trying to create inclusivity. But our focus, of course, had always been India, and that is the reason we said we are going to register at shework.in, because that is our goal, to educate people in India. The journey is very difficult. It is still difficult with some of the brands, but I am really happy that we are right now supporting a lot of top brands, more than 10, 15 MNCs, and we are doing exclusive diversity drives for them.
Beautiful. No, good to know. I thought we all jumped on diversity and inclusion. We should have actually asked you. But
Yes.
but yeah,
Thank you so much.
I think it's a lot been said by my esteemed colleagues. As I said in the initial part as well, I don't think diversity is a problem. Inclusivity is a bigger problem, and I don't intend to undermine that. It's very easy to recruit diverse candidates. It is difficult, and as Shailja pointed out, it is different for different regions. When we talk of North America or Europe as regions, I think they are far more mature than India per se on the subject of
Yes.
diversity. But inclusion is even a problem there, because the definition of diversity goes into color there, and that's where it
Hmm.
becomes difficult. It's visibly difficult. Uh,
Right.
so I live in New Jersey, and there are places when I will walk in and I myself will feel that, okay, uh, is this the right place to be? So that way, I think it impacts all of us in various shapes and forms. When it comes to India, in tech is a serious problem even at the academy level. I think if you look at our schools, engineering schools, the percentage of men what they get doing engineering versus the female, I think the problem starts there. So maybe uh, bigger words, but it's still that society acceptance and people aiming for, or let's say the girls aiming for engineering part is still continues to be a challenge. So that being said, sourcing diversity in India, when we define it as male and female, is very very challenging for IT firms. And I'm sure Paul, you'll agree. It's not a walk in the park, but yeah, we try and manage that, because if you pick up any of the IT services company, big or small, if we leave Accentures of the world outside, I don't think anyone is like 50-50. Everyone is playing around between 30 to 45, which does indicate that there is a serious gap, to even source diversity. For that, we keep trying that, climbing that mountain at Persistent. So we do have all kind of flagship programs, women returnship. Uh, like for example, the best one is yesterday. My team celebrated something we call it as Empower Her. Empower Her is nothing but we called it that today we will only source female candidates. And then the team did fabulously well. They actually sourced 3x of what they do every day, and 100% of them were female candidates. So we were very excited about it. There is an OR flash which we did today about it. Similarly, there are variety of other things. As I think Shailja pointed out earlier part of the conversation, we have partners. We partner with you as well. There are a couple of more, and of course there are online channels where we go and advertise diversity. We celebrate it as and when there is an opportunity. And inclusion is an ongoing exercise. It's a bigger mountain to climb. That acceptability, as you mentioned, right? That what if she gets married? What if she grows in her family way? So those challenges are there, but there is a constant endeavor, I think, in most of the mature setups to train, retrain, re-emphasize, recast the message of inclusion. And I think that's what is very important. It's very important for people like us to carry it as a weight on our shoulder and educate larger teams. I personally am very, I feel very very proud about it, that I'm very very comfortable working around with working moms. We ensure that we create enough and more flex for people to be comfortable, accommodate, and have that work satisfaction when they walk out of their jobs. Of course, it doesn't mean that there is any less stress. We don't end up discriminating females to create comfort over men, but at the same time, try and create a comfortable environment. That's the quest, at least personally, I do over inclusion part of it. But yeah, both of them, I may say that diversity is easy, inclusion is difficult, but that doesn't mean that getting to diverse is also easy. It's difficult, but relatively easier than the inclusion part of it.
Absolutely right. And these all concepts should go hand in hand. If only we focus on diversity and if there is no inclusivity, things will not go in our favor. If we just focus on inclusivity, then there is no conscious hiring for diversity. So I mean, it should definitely go hand in hand, and then only it would take its own place. And I'm very pleased that each one of you have spoken or described diversity and inclusion from the heart, and that is the very less time we happen to hear so much of detailed. Otherwise, I've seen people just mentioning, yes, we are taking the conscious efforts, and this is the percentage, and this is the team who is doing this. So I'm very very happy to see you guys are involved at the ground level till the leadership, and you know what is going on in the entire organization, and I'm definitely very 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 pleased by this question especially. So, to make it little more interesting, I have just, I would like to take a quick rapid fire, okay, while we are coming to an end to the session, okay, starting with Paul. So, I would just say a word, and I would want to. I mean, you just have to tell me one word for a question. So, example, say, I say hiring, and you say maybe Shework example. Okay, so something like that. Okay, so just four questions, one after the other, and it will be very fast. So talent, Paul, we will
I
start with
I
you.
couldn't hear that.
So
Yeah, yeah, go
I
ahead.
said, so one word to describe talent.
Women.
Okay, company.
Happiest minds.
Okay, hiring.
Need of dar.
Okay, diversity.
Most critical part, or what most critical.
You just said two words.
Okay, critical.
No problem. Manjeet, over next to you. Talent. What is a talent to you? One word.
The spine of an organization, spine,
Okay. Company.
the brand,
Okay. Diversity.
hmm, an
You
image.
have to be quick. Okay. Hiring.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Hiring. Hiring.
Hiring. Okay. I pass.
Okay. Shailaja, over to you.
Yes.
Talent.
Um,
One word for talent.
tier one.
Sorry.
I said tier one.
Here one. Okay. Company.
Incedo,
Okay. Hiring.
best in class.
And diversity.
Um, diff- can I say afraid? Like different strokes for different folks.
It's all up to you. Awesome. Awesome. Varun, last with you. Talent.
Persistent talent team.
Okay. Hiring.
Very, very difficult, challenging job.
Company.
Of course, persistent systems.
And diversity.
Inclusion is more important.
Awesome, awesome. That was fun. And before we end the session, I would just like to hear each one of you what would you love to have a final thought or an advice for HR professions and organizations who are looking to enhance the talent acquisition strategy. So let's start, Varun, from you.
Oh, talent acquisition strategy. Uh, a difficult one. Yeah, the best talent acquisition strategy is always data driven. So invest in data and analytics. Be sharper, smarter in looking at data from various dimensions. And devil lies in detail. When you have data, you look at it in detail. It itself will offer a lot of learning. You really don't need to push yourself to think. It will tell you what to do.
Okay. Shailaja, what would you like to tell our audience? What are your thoughts?
So I think that I'll go back to what I'd said in the beginning, that the talent acquisition strategy has to be aligned to the talent DNA you're building. And once you're clear about that, the process and the practices will then fall in place. So if you are not kind of focusing on what you want to become in a few years time, and generally bringing in talent, then it is going to get a lot more difficult. You will have to kind of just continually redo your hiring or your talent pool. So I would say that it's best to spend a certain amount of time on getting the talent DNA right, or the talent model right. So that's number one. And number two, which is Varun's point, which is you have to invest in data. And data is not about turnaround time and position aging. Data is about analyzing your funnel. It is going to be about analyzing productivity, and it is also about analyzing the productivity of the sources. So the choices that you make define the work that you're going to do, and the outcomes that you deliver. So it's really important to be data based in the choices that you make.
Thank you so much. Manjeet, what a message you would like to leave for our audience?
Uh, Pooja, I personally believe that talent scouting or talent acquisition, what we call it, has evolved over the years. From being part of a Mino HR domain, we are now part of the delivery function, the larger delivery function, I would say. Uh, I think strategy plays a very important role here. It has to be very clearly laid out of what is expected, because it also not only it is about getting the talent, it also impacts your top line, bottom line in terms of finances. So getting that right talent uh, and cost effective is very important. So the strategy has to be such that you kind of take into consideration everything that is going to impact your organization.
Understood. Paul, how about you? What message you would like to leave for us?
Three things, Pooja, to be honest with you. I've always believed this. You need to hire smart to hire wise. Okay. Second part of it is you need to have an intent why you are hiring, because a lot of people miss out on the intent. They only look at the numbers. Uh, the last part of the one most crucial part, it's not only about hiring, it's about building the talent. So when you look at the talent scope and when you look at the entire action, this is a cycle that organizations can follow, and maybe it helps. It's basically about hire, build, and rehire, and or else hire, build, retrain, rebuild, rehire. So I think it is okay for us to hire, but it is important for us to build the talent which is there, and it is important for us to have the diversity within the systems to basically keep it. I think that's going to be key.
Thank you so much. I mean, this conversation is very insightful. Definitely, I don't want to. I feel to continue the conversation with all of you, and I think I'm getting a lot of comments to keep going with a lot of questions. But yeah, of course, we are just coming to an end. Time is clicking, and I know everybody is busy. So before I wrap up, I remember one quote by Steven, which said, if I really want to improve my situation, I can work on one thing over which I have control. That is myself. So I feel even in talent acquisition, it is not just about finding better talent, but it is also being a good talent acquirer, and that is what we can understand after having the conversation with all of you. So thank you so much. So while we are wrapping up, I must say this conversation was very insightful. We all enjoyed hearing all your thoughts, and I'm sure there are a lot of learnings for our audience while they are going back to enjoy their weekends. And people have dropped in a lot of questions. I would request if you take out some time and reply them back. We will let you know how you can do, and we can post it up to our audience. Thank you so much again to all the panel members, and thank you all for being the wonderful audience. And please stay tuned for many such episodes which will be coming up soon. Until then, goodbye. Signing off, Pooja Bangad.
Thank you. Have a
Thank you,
great day.
Pooja.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you